welcome to Permastoked, dude. How you doing?
Great, man. How are you?
Right on, man.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, bro. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here talking to you on the East Coast. So I imagine you're an hour ahead of me.
Yeah. We're all the way over here in Atlantic time. It's kind of interesting. A lot of the people I talk to and work with are like all on different time schedules, so I'm always like that like usually at this time of night, like my phone goes like completely silent. I have the Apple thing where like after 7:30, like phone is just like off. It's kind of nice. It's
Nice.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I can get like sucked into it a little bit and just end up sitting on my phone all night and not actually being present. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I just moved from Vancouver to Ontario like a couple months ago. So I was sort of used to that, time. Like, for example, a couple weeks ago during the presidential debate, it's like
yeah.
normally that stuff would be on about 6 o'clock. But now that I'm in Ontario, everything starts so late, right? Like
Yeah,
sporting events or those kind of
it's
things.
totally like it's a thing. Like I miss so much of that just because being out here so removed, you all those things, and then like I don't know about you, but like being a surfer, I find my time schedules are like I'm a very early morning person,
Yeah.
and then by the time like 8 o'clock comes around, I'm just like, oh, like is it too early to go to bed? Like,
Yeah. So you're a real dawn patrol guy out there?
yeah, like you know what? Like I say I am. I have like really bad FOMO. So, and I live like I can see the ocean from my place. So
Nice.
I will get up in the dark, have like coffee and stuff. But over the last couple of years, it depends. If it's like pumping and I'm just gonna surf in front of my house, like I'll let the before work crew like kind of get after it, and then like I paddle out what I call like gentleman's hour, like 9:30.
Okay.
Like as everybody's going to work, like I'll just that's my time. I'll go out there and surf for a while, and then yeah, it's nice. And then you don't really take away from all the other people's waves and stuff like that. And yeah, you don't ever get jaded because it's never that crowded. So
Right on,
yeah.
absolutely. So I read in your bio, it says that you've never had a real job.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, today's definition of a real job has definitely changed, but probably where did you read that from?
Um, yeah,
Probably
maybe it
something that was
was
written
the
a
Jack
while ago.
Links. I think it might have been the Jack Links bio you
Oh
have.
yeah. Like I've been fortunate enough to been surfing for what feels like ever now. I mean, I'm 31. I think I've been surfing for like 19 years now,
Wow,
which is,
incredible.
like it feels like it's forever, but then it also feels like it's been a flash just like that. It's something, I don't know. It's really special. I'm super thankful to be able to do it and continue to be able to do it. And yeah, hopefully be able to do it as long as I can.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, that's your job. That is a job that so many of us would think is just, incredible to have. So it's not like you're a part of a union or some large crowd of professional Nova Scotian surfers. So,
No.
walk me through that. Like you grew up
Um,
in Cal Bay, is it?
No, I live in Cal Bay now. I grew up in
Okay.
like the southwestern part of the province, like in a very rural town. Actually, I think there's only like 3,000 people that live there. So it's even weirder when you really dive into it.
Okay. What's the name of the town?
It's actually called Berwick, Nova Scotia, which like it's on the Bay of Fundy side, so it's like not predominantly a surf place.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I have surfed there, and there are waves around there, but like yeah, like predominantly I was driving like quite a ways to go surf consistent waves.
Oh, okay. Southwest part of the island. I'm trying to remember. I tree planted in Nova
Yeah,
Scotia.
so it would be down that way.
Yeah, in 2008, and I'm forget Annapolis Royal.
Yeah, so like pretty close to there.
Okay,
Like
that's some
along that, yeah,
beautiful area.
yeah, it's like super woodsy down there. Like that's where I do a lot of my fishing, and we actually have a cabin down there and stuff.
Yeah, lots of ticks.
Oh, it's insane. You know what? Like ticks, like it is a very like talked about thing now in Nova Scotia, but we never like those are a new thing.
Really?
Yeah, like I guess they came over on migratory birds from Maine because like talking to my grandfather and my father, like we didn't have ticks growing up. And
Hmm.
then even lately, like I'd never seen ticks close to Cow Bay or anything, and now I see them here, and like we
Wow.
still don't have them really up and too much in the northern end of the province, but like there's surf spots that we walk into, and it's not uncommon to pick like 15 to 20 ticks off you.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a big deal. You would
it's
have to pick them off you every night, every morning for sure.
yeah, and it's now a thing. Like there's like certain times of the year I don't bring my dog with me anymore, just because it's like it's too much.
Yeah. I
And
remember the first time my dog got a deer tick
mm,
years ago. I didn't know what it was, and it just sort of
yeah,
looked like this wart, and I remember it just got bigger, and then
yeah,
one day my dad grabbed it and it moved. We're like,
yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah, they're pretty hectic. So yeah, I mean it's like in Lyme disease now is like a big part of and like Nova Scotians' life. Like I know so many people that have it now. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Go into the
it's a
bush
legit
with
thing now.
caution.
Yeah, I mean, chalk it up to like environmental catastrophe or global warming or whatever, but it's like for anybody to say it's not a thing, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah. Oh, I'll vouch for that. So you grew up in the southwest corner of the province. So how did you get over into that Lawrencetown area or wherever it was that you started
So yeah,
surfing?
my mom's family's from around here originally, and like she was always very active like with her family, so I just always hitch a ride and go surfing.
Nice.
And then yeah, so I surfed a lot up here, and then I surfed a bunch down like the South Shore of Nova Scotia, and yeah, I don't know, it just kind of like it wasn't anything that was like in particularly planned. It was just something that kind of grew organically, and then when I was like 16, I got my license, and that changed everything. And then shortly after, I, got out of school kind of early and would go surf all the time. And then, yeah, that's it, just kind of went from there.
So what was the scene like for you when all that started? Were you
Oh man,
solo? Were you
I was
with a
solo.
crew?
Like it was a solo thing. There's no, I mean, all my friends and everything I have in life has come through surfing, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
like it's so cool to like sit back and look at. But yeah, no, I started all by my lonesome. I remember like the first winter I started, like the first winter I surfed all year. I think it was like 12 or 13, and I had to wear a women's wetsuit because they didn't make like kid-sized 5.4s with hoods. So I
Wow.
had to have this like O'Neill woman's suit with a hood.
Nice. And
Yeah.
the only thing I ever hear is the opposite of that story, like talking to women who had to settle for some
Yeah.
boys' wetsuit. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, like, and I think it's so cool because like my son will be able, like, by the time he's old enough, like he'll have 5.4s in his size.
Yeah,
And like that's
absolutely.
just something we didn't have. And it's like either we froze. I remember one time I had this like pair of mitts that like this lobster fisherman had like sewn, and I swear they're like 15 mil thick. And they were like wearing oven mitts, but it was so funny. They like fully made them for lobster fishing, and I
Yeah.
somehow ended up with them.
Those are the real deal. Those were
Yeah.
the lobster gloves before they started calling them lobster mitts.
Oh no, these things were like full mitts. Like
Okay.
they were classic. They were so thick. It was insane. I don't think my hands could bend. I think it was just like full paddle and pop up, and that was it.
Wow. So back then, so for me, 2008 was the year I tree planted out there, and so I
Mhm.
remember going surfing in Lawrencetown and at Martinique Beach, and there
Yeah.
wasn't many people out there, but there was a couple surf shops, if I remember correctly. There was
Yeah,
one
we
called
had a
South
pretty
Shore.
established scene by then.
Yeah,
I mean, man, the scene goes way, way, way before even me, like,
yeah,
but yeah, like I think for me, like I've seen the most growth in it, like in my time period.
yeah.
Yeah, people have been surfing here since like the 60s. So
Incredible.
yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, no, we've had shops forever. Like even when I was younger, like we had full like contest series and stuff like that, and like that's where I met most of my friends that are my best friends now. So like
Incredible.
that was like contests really aren't my thing, but like I'm super glad they were a part of my life, and it just gave me an excuse to go surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up or when you were in high school, did you know that that's what you wanted to be, was a pro surfer?
No, not necessarily. Like, I mean, it's just not really a career path that you would generally take here. It's, luckily for me, I had Nico Manos to look up to, and he kind of
Hmm.
like he was the first professional surfer in Nova Scotia. So like the blueprint was already there. So like, without that, like, man, for him, like, I don't even know like how you decide to make that call, because it's quite the call, because, when all your other friends are going to university and studying and doing all these things that, society would have you believe is the way to do it, then you're like, ah, no, I'm actually just going to go surfing and going to try and crack a living at this. It's like, wow, that's a pretty big decision, as much as it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go ride surfboards all around the world and have a grand time. It's like, that's a heavy decision to make.
Yeah.
And like one of like, like as awesome as it is, it's like you're kind of, making your own path in that sense, But yeah, luckily for me, he kind of laid the blueprint. I had something to follow, and kind of, that really helped a lot.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I did watch, while I was doing some research here a little earlier today, I got to watch a great video of you for Jack Links, the Sasquatch video.
Yeah.
I realize it's a couple years old, but it's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, oh yeah, we filmed that in Chile, actually, like 2 weeks before my wedding. My wife was really psyched.
Oh, nice.
I got to go on like a full surf mission like 2 weeks before our wedding.
So how long does something like that take to film?
Well, it's funny because like I didn't really have much to do with the production of that.
Mm-hmm.
So like, man, like we picked Chile, and like, yeah, Chile is a great time to go. I've never been there, so like I was just kind of like picking, like I talked to Nico, he's been there. I talked to Noah Cohen, he's been there, but like I knew nothing about the place. So we get there, and like all I packed were like 5'11" shortboards. And we get there, what like happened to be like the biggest swell they've had in 10 years. We lost power for 8 days. Like they had rain, floods, roads were washed out. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah, it was quite the adventure. But yeah, it turned out like we had one really good day of surf, and that's kind of all it needed. And yeah, it went well. It was fun. And Chile is a beautiful country. I would love to go back after all the shenanigans are done of 2020.
Yeah, seriously. So how is COVID affecting your surfing these days, or traveling, or your normal routine?
I mean, yeah, this is the first time in 30 years I haven't traveled internationally, which is crazy. But it's been real nice. Like I planned to take some time off and, be there for the birth of my son and the first like couple months of his life, like, straightforward. And then it's been great. I just get to hang out with him and, do other things. Like I fished a bunch this year, which like usually summertime comes around and I don't get to go fishing as much as I would like. So this year I got to partake and like not feel guilty about it because there's no waves.
Yeah,
so
for real.
Oh, like this is awesome. Like, I got to do things that I haven't been able to do in so many years. And it's like made me really appreciate where I live even more.
Yeah. So when was your son born?
Sorry?
When was your son born?
May the 4th. He was really we did a reno and had our child during the pandemic.
Wow, incredible. So, yeah. Isn't that like the Star Wars day? May the 4th be with you.
My wife's not so psyched on that. She's like, oh no, he's totally gonna be like stuck with that for the rest of his life.
Yeah, for real. What's his name?
River.
River, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's the age expectancy when he gets on a board?
Oh, I had him laying on a surfboard at like 2 months.
Really? Okay. All right. You've already.
I tried to talk my wife into letting me like go stand up with him in like ankle deep water and like some whitewash. She's like, nah, not yet.
Oh man, incredible. So you talked about when you were in high school and then when all this happened. So for all of us at home who we love surfing, but it's a leisure activity, we really don't know, how does one become a pro surfer? What does that look like? Like how does that happen, especially as a Canadian?
I mean, if it was 10, 15 years ago, I'd have a much better answer. Like I would say that question is ever evolving. Like even today as we speak, like what is it to be a pro surfer? Like, like is it like 10, 20 years ago, it was like contest results. Like that's how it, was like monetized, like, oh, you're this good, you receive this much paycheck. And then, when I came on the scene, it was like, oh, like, X number of photos in a magazine, like, the monetary value associated with that, that's the calculation. But now with social media and, having your own channels, like I know people that look at, there's arguably some of the most famous surfers in the world right now, like don't even surf on, not that they don't even surf on tour, but they're not even like mainstream to a sense. Like there's so many
Mm,
like YouTubers and stuff that, like, not to take anything away from them, but like they didn't go the traditional path and they're largely successful. And that's
yeah.
like it, like I think that's really cool. It opens it up. There's more things than like being like this insanely talented ripper. But I mean, also that being said, is it brings on all these other things as an individual you can add to yourself, like to your sponsors or your brands. You can be a part of that marketing discussion. Like before it was like, oh, like we have Logan out here, let's send him that plan, he'll go do that, and it'll be executed to the letter, and then job done. But now it's like, we come up with the plans, we produce everything, and then we send it to like all of the sponsors or brands that we're associated with, and that's kind of like almost like the new realm, and it's even
Oh,
forever changing.
yeah. Interesting.
Like people have their own YouTube channels, and yeah, it's insane.
So I guess there's a difference then between, well, there can be a difference between a competitive surfer and a professional surfer then.
Absolutely. And I think now more than ever, like New York Times actually just, or I think it was the Times, I can't remember. Anyway, somebody published this whole thing about like the most famous surfers in the world, and like none of them were on the CT.
Yeah.
And they picked certain YouTube, like, I mean, Jamie O'Brien's YouTube channel is like hugely successful. I mean, I don't want to get the stats wrong, but I think he's like Red Bull's like #1 watch show.
Wow.
And like, I don't know if you see it much, but like a lot of it like isn't even really surf based anymore. It's just like
Mm,
antics and like his day-to-day life, which,
yeah.
like there's a certain amount of genius in that. Like he's extended his career past, like, I mean, take Kelly and all those dudes away, but like, most free surfers, unless you had like a niche, we're gonna probably call it in their early 30s. So
Mm,
it's, he's well beyond that. So it's really cool to see that.
yeah, absolutely. And then you got guys like Laird Hamilton as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're just, I mean, even like Laird's a great example. Like, like if you're talking about like core dudes, like maybe he's not like the most like preferred surfer, we'll call it, but like,
Hmm.
any of like my dad's friends are like, yeah, of Laird Hamilton? Like, yeah, I know, like the Laird Superfood, like, he has all his own brands attached to him.
Yeah.
Like he's really a master at like, building his own brand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool how there's these different realms, I guess, now, and guys like Laird compared to a Kelly Slater
Yeah.
really kind of create that diverse entry point, I guess. Like you're talking about your dad and his friends
Yeah.
are going to look different than, the teenage,
Oh, absolutely.
skateboarders in Dartmouth or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like it's cool because there's all these different places for things to go. I mean, it's there's a positive and a negative to everything. The negative being that things are consumed on such high levels that people don't even like. Video parts now are down to like 3 minutes, and like that's like,
Mm,
oof, if you can get past that, like wow, like it's there's no story anymore. It's just bam, 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 bam. Everybody's numb to it, and then it's like, shoot up, consume. Like we put a lot of work into these and a
yeah.
lot of passion. And it's like, somebody's just like flipping through on Instagram, like, yeah, next, like. So that's the downside to it, but
Yeah. Yeah. I heard one of the guests I had on my show referred to it as surf porn, when
yeah.
it's just like videos of guys surfing and nothing else.
Yeah, it's like, and I mean, the thing is too, is like everybody's so good now that like, what's the point of difference? Everybody can do airs, everybody gets tubed, everybody can do turns. Like,
Yeah.
it's, I want to see a story built and like an adventure scene. Like, I feel like that's the one thing that surfing, I feel like, is kind of like moving. It's moving into like a more of like a commercial zone, and like trying there. I get it. It like it's gonna help the sport grow, like with like the wave pools and the way the WSL is marketing stuff. But like, I just don't want this, like the reason why people go surfing, to be like skewed in any way.
Yeah.
Because for me,
So,
like the whole reason I ever started surfing or going surfing is so we can go surf awesome waves with my friends, and I think that a lot of people can relate to that.
yeah. So, sort of, pick it all away, and that's what's at the core for you.
Oh, 100%. Like, I mean, I did the QS to, I don't know, maybe it was like an ego thing to like just say I did it, or, travel around and at least say I tried,
Yeah.
but it was not for me. Like, I would be out there and I don't want, like, these kids would just, they want to beat you that bad. And like, I understand that, like, you're in a contest, you should be like that. If you're going to do it, you should try and win at all costs. I understand that. But like, also, like, the judging criteria hasn't changed in how long, and like surfing's evolved since then. It's like, I don't want to get a 7.5 for like doing surfing 70% and bashing the whitewater all the way to the beach. Like, that's no fun for me. Like, I would rather go try and go as fast as I can and do the biggest air and land it or not land it. Like, that's way more fun to me. Like, I like the way that like the snowboard and the skate contests are structured much more than the way surf contests are structured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think it would help evolve the sport, progressively if we were, if it was more like that. Like what Stab High was doing and like the Red Bull Airborne stuff, like that was really cool. Like, yes, granted it was all in the air and there was no turns or tubes, but something along that format just seems so much more entertaining.
Hmm.
And if they're trying to expand it to like outside people, like your average Joe doesn't care how many backside nooners you do to the beach. He wants to see somebody go real high and spin real fast because like that's relatable.
Hmm.
Like even if you don't surf, that that's like a dynamic maneuver, and you go, oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because there's so many sports to compare to. Like there's like everything, like even like snowboarding, skateboarding, motocross, even figure skating. Like somebody that is outside of surf can like kind of relate to something dynamic going like that, or like whereas like they see somebody do 3 backside hits on a waist high wave, like they're like next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it all has its place.
So some of the maneuvers that are, seen as more spectacular that not everybody's doing, like going in the barrels or, doing the airs and stuff like that. Was that just something that came to you over time, or did you have any kind of mentor out there in the water?
No,
or
I grew up snowboarding and skateboarding. And my personality is, if people like, I don't know, I just, something in me is like, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever somebody else isn't doing.
Okay.
So for me, like, and like with I was just more in the air.
Nice.
It's just always kind of come pretty naturally to me, I guess. And then it's also more like, it's what excites me.
Yeah. So
Like,
if you're not doing airs, do you get a little bored? Is that like a
no.
necessary component?
I love surfing and like doing big turns on big waves. Like that's fun. Like if you give me like an overhead left hand point break, like that's just so much fun to me.
Okay, nice. Right on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and place. I also like, that took a long time for me to learn. Like when I was a kid, I just like, oh, air on everything, and like I couldn't even do a turn, but I could, get in the air, and that was stupid. So, I had to go back and learn the fundamentals again. So,
Nice.
but yeah, no, I even more as I get older, like I really like a good turn, because every 13-year-old kid can do better airs than me. So
Wow. Yeah.
I want to see like a good turn. Like there's just something timeless about that.
Yeah.
Now, if you mix big turns and big airs, then that's the winning combo.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were talking earlier about videos, and the one point I wanted to add about that is that the other thing about today is that anybody can also pretty much make these high quality videos. Like amateurs are cranking out.
Oh, it's insane.
Beautiful footage.
My iPhone shoots what like people were paying like 15 grand for a camera like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So like really, like, I mean, and that's cool though. Like, like it's literally accessible to anybody. Like there's no, like before you, like if there was all these steps just to even get seen, now you can just like, if you're good enough and you do cool enough stuff, or like you have your own little niche, like go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll probably be something.
Yeah. So this video that was released not long ago about you guys chasing the hurricane, Hurricane Teddy. So I think that was that in September that happened?
Maybe early October.
Okay.
I don't know. We've had a lot of hurricanes this year. It's hard to keep them all.
Yeah. So maybe tell us about that, because there seemed to be some heart and some story to that. It seemed like you had a story you wanted to tell.
Yeah, so I mean, Red Bull approached me about doing that, and we are like, okay, like yeah, but we want to tell a story, like we want. And to be fair, like surfing is interesting because like we glorify, pro surfers going to waves that like not everybody gets to go to,
Mm-hmm.
and an experience that nobody really gets to. It's so elitist, and like it's like, hey, whoa, like let's bring it back a little bit. Like that portrays to very few people.
Mm-hmm.
Like so the whole idea with this project is like, hey, like everybody can relate to a hurricane chase.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to sugarcoat anything. Like, let's show it for what it is, and that was a pretty honest, like, video of what happened. Like the wave showed up day one. It was really fun. And then the hurricane kind of took a breath, as they tend to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the second day was very average at best. And then day three was supposed to be just like completely blown out and stormy, and ended up being awesome. So like, we just wanted to take the viewer and show an honest portrayal of like what actually goes into it.
Yeah, and so this was all filmed in Atlantic Canada, right?
Sorry?
That was all in Atlantic Canada, right?
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
on Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
the
all
coast.
filmed in a couple hours of my place.
So these waves are accessible to anybody. These aren't like Costa
Yeah, I
Rican.
mean, you probably need to know where to go, what to do, but like the whole coastline was good on that swell. So like, maybe people didn't find the waves of quality that we found, but at least they could like associate with that adventure because they were pretty much on the same one, like they were, everybody tracks the swell, everybody has their little spots they want to go to. So like it was very relatable, and that's what we wanted to show.
Yeah.
We don't need another video of somebody surfing like 15-foot perfect waves that like 99% of the people are never going to touch.
You were mentioning, people making a living these days off of being featured in magazines and things like that. And so, your travel buddy in those, Scotty Sharon, what's it like going out with him?
Me and Scotty have been friends forever, like well before surfing was our jobs,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's been really cool, like to grow up with somebody, and like as both of our careers grow, it's like we're a team. It's not like he's one and I'm one. It's like we do everything together, and the ideas are both our ideas. It's not one or the other,
Mm-hmm.
and that like it's really cool to create something where there's that much input from two individuals, so it's fun. It's really it's really comfortable working with somebody that you're that close with.
Yeah, really.
So it's like it. I mean, it's kind of funny because every now and again I'll work with somebody else, and it's just like it's kind of weird. Like it's just
Not the same, yeah.
because you have to, not only are you working with like on their side, it's like art, so it's like you're dealing with artists. So, and then like me, it's like he's so used to watching me surf, he can expect what I'm going to do before I even do it. So, that's an easy relationship to have. But when you work with somebody else, there's all those nuances that you have to overcome and figure out, which it's fun. That's fun too.
So did you cry as hard as we all did when SBC Surf went away?
Oh yeah, that sucked. Yeah, that was a big blow. But I mean, it's kind of like going with the times, like surfing went, Transworld went, now surfers gone. Like,
yeah.
Insane. But I mean, I don't know.
What do you think the future is for that?
I honestly ask myself that every day because I'm just like, okay, like not everything adds up. Like surfing's the most popular it's ever been by a long shot.
Yeah.
But yet we have no real surf magazine anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like I get it, like when I was a child, I had every subscription to every magazine that came monthly.
Yeah.
And now, like everything's on your phone. So it's like it's evolved. It's not that we don't have surf media, but it's almost like everybody's their own media channel now. And then there's certain like the medias that are still around are more or less just compiling that into like one easy to like take in portal,
Yeah.
So,
regardless, I miss it so much. Like I
oh, we
remember
all,
when it was, I feel like it used to be quarterly at one point, then it went down to twice a year, and then
yeah,
I feel like it went down to annual for a while.
yeah. I owe a lot of my career to that magazine and the people that work there, and like
Yeah.
forever it'll be a part of me. So, and I think it's also important for our culture, like as a Canadian surf culture, like it was the one thing that kind of like bound us all together. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. That's
yeah,
how we on the Great Lakes know names like Logan Landry or
yeah,
Noah Cohen. That's how we all were connected. I agree.
yeah. Because it's such a big country that we live in. Like, it's quicker for me to fly to Ireland and go surf with my buddies in Ireland than it is to go surf with my friends in Tofino.
Wow.
So it's like that's a big country, and if we have something to bring it all together, that's great. But yeah, now,
Not only is it quicker, it might even be cheaper.
oh, it's definitely cheaper. It's always cheaper.
Oh
You
man,
pretty much
that's
go anywhere.
yeah. So hey, in Canada, obviously, I take it you spent quite a bit of time in Tofino.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, not this
Yeah,
year.
not this year, yeah.
Yeah.
So what about some of these other spots? Have you ever done any Great Lakes surfing or checked out any of the river surfing,
I
Alberta,
have
Ottawa?
I have surfed in Montreal on the rivers.
Okay.
Just because Montreal is like not that far, and a lot of my sponsors' head offices are there, so I just always,
Okay.
for the novelty of it, bring a board and give it a look. And yeah, I've surfed a bunch in Tofino. I haven't gotten to the Great Lakes yet. I had a trip planned and COVID, so
Oh, yikes.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Actually, this year we were planning to take off from Nova Scotia in November and drive across the country and go to Tofino for a bit, but yeah, we're here in Nova Scotia, so
On hold for a while. Well, let me
yeah,
know when the Great Lakes thing ever shakes out. I'd love to come see you surf and maybe
yeah,
go
yeah.
out.
My
Yeah.
buddy Kevin went over there and said it was a blast. So
Yeah. Is that Kevin Schultz?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you were mentioning places like Ireland, right?
Mhm.
So I read here too, like you've done some surfing over in Iceland, Scotland,
Yeah.
Sweden.
Oh yeah. Yeah, all the European places. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Iceland over the years. I have a great many friends over there.
Wow. So what's
Yeah.
it like surfing in Iceland? I mean, this
Um,
isn't California or Hawaii.
It's
Like
kind of
you're,
similar to here in the winter. It's actually a little warmer than here in the winter.
oh, really?
Yeah, like the water, they get the Gulf current, so their water doesn't quite get as cold. Super windy place though. Definitely
Hmm.
the windiest place I've ever surfed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Very hard to get waves. Like probably one of the most frustrating places in the world to get surf, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, going back to that whole being a Canadian surfer type of thing. So, what does that responsibility feel like for you representing Canada as a surfer? Because you are just one of a small pocket of people.
Yeah.
And how are you perceived by your peers when you are, amidst surfers from around the world?
I don't know. Like, I think like with like my close peers that live internationally, like they're just used to it because I've been traveling for so long, and they're just like, oh yeah, Logan, he's from Nova Scotia. Like
Yeah.
that's almost like it's like a given. And then everybody wants to come here, and I usually have people staying at my house every month of the year. So,
Yeah.
actually, in the room I'm in right now, this is the guest suite. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, no, like I think yeah, we have guests like 8 months of the year generally.
Wow.
Like it's crazy.
Incredible.
It's like yeah, it's COVID's been kind of nice because it's just been us and like we had our child, so it's been a little bit of downtime. But
Yeah.
yeah, usually the place is bumping with visiting surfers. And then
Wow.
the cool thing about surfing is like everywhere I go in the world, I have a place to stay. So it's
Yeah.
really
So you're not looked at as sort of, I'm thinking of the movie Cool Runnings, the Jamaican bobsled team.
yeah.
Like I'm wondering if it's like, what? A Canadian a surfer from Canada? Like I'm sure there's some people who don't have a
Yeah,
clue.
when I was younger, for sure. But then, like as I got older and Canada got a little bit more on the map, thanks Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people took us a little bit more serious, and you didn't get that like, oh, surfers from Canada, like didn't know you could surf up there, like.
Yeah.
So that's been like a big change. Like, Canada is well known and known that we have great waves. So like generally when I'm speaking, they're like, oh, like, hi, I'm Logan, I'm from Nova Scotia. Like, crazy, like, I heard you guys have really good waves. Like, yeah. And then like that's usually how the conversation goes. I generally do find I get treated a little different than my American counterparts, which is kind of nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously in a positive way.
Yeah, like I just don't get, like, whenever we're in Europe, like they always get hassled at the border, and I'm just kind of like flying by. People
Oh,
are
okay.
more open to talk to me than them, and yeah, because like that's,
Nice.
they're like, hey, where are you from? Or like they'll be like, hey, who are you? Where are you from? And then as soon as you say Canada, like, oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, you keep that maple leaf crest on your backpack.
Nah, but yeah, it's usually like when you're traveling, that's like the first thing that comes up. So usually once that comes up, we've very rarely had any other things besides positivity. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What's the spirit of Nova Scotia right now? Because I mean, we have COVID. I know that you guys actually had checkpoints for a while, not necessarily allowing people in, or it was harder to go there anyways.
yeah,
And then also we had that very tragic, shooting
yeah,
earlier in the year.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
been man, it's been like a crazy year.
yeah,
And Nova Scotia is such a small place that, like, if you don't know somebody, like, you definitely have a connection somehow, some way.
mm,
That Yeah, all that stuff was insane. And like, yeah, it's just what a year. But yeah, we didn't really have outsiders come in, like, and we rely heavily on tourism in the summer. It
yeah,
was
absolutely.
one of the quietest summers I can remember. I
Hmm.
don't think that's like, unfortunately, we've just had a little spike in cases for us. We were at zero forever. So yeah, they're kind of thinking probably shut down, or at least like partial shutdown again,
Yeah.
um, which will be interesting. But yeah, we've handled everything like really really well. Nova Scotia's, we're a resilient people, generally pretty positive and happy go lucky. So I mean, when you
Yeah.
live here and you deal with the weather and the wind and the darkness that we do, it kind of breeds it into you.
Yeah, definitely. I love my time out there, man. I spent probably an entire summer, anyhow,
Yeah.
out in Nova Scotia, and so I spent time down in the valley. Then we moved up. I spent a couple of weeks and actually got to plant in Halifax at I think it's called the Point Pleasant Park, because there was
Oh
a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hurricane went through there. So that was the one time when I actually got out of the bush for a little while.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Hurricane Juan went through there in 2001 and like pretty much leveled it.
yeah, so that was kind of cool, really hanging out in Halifax. And what's that area called? The Hydrosphere or something?
Hydro Stone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hung out around there in Citadel Hill, and then we ended up in Antigonish was
yeah,
one of our last places. Yeah,
yeah,
just a legendary time.
yeah, yeah. The more time I spend here, the more I really appreciate Nova Scotia. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome.
So anybody thinking of coming to Nova Scotia with surfing in mind, what do you kind of say to them? Like, it's not, your typical, oh, I'm going to Florida, I'm going to California. Like, how would
Um,
you prep someone for a surf trip to Nova Scotia?
get a good rental car with really good gas mileage because you will be driving a lot.
Okay.
It is not an easy place to get waves. Like, yeah, like if you like, I'm fortunate enough to live like right on the surf, so I can like run out whenever, But like generally speaking, like even if you live in Halifax, which is like perceivably close to the surf and like it's on the ocean, but by the time you actually like get in your car, go through traffic, get to the waves, that's like a 45-minute or more ordeal.
Oh, wow.
And that's like for one little zone. If you want to go like deep and like go explore, like get a couple coffees in you and get a very fuel efficient car because yeah, I mean, there's been times we've driven 16 hours and surfed for like one.
Wow.
So it's yeah, we like to drive here and it pays off sometimes and sometimes it doesn't, but
Yeah.
it's just the wind and the swell. Like the swells move so fast here. Like it can go from 30 foot to flat in the run of a day, no worries.
Wow.
Yeah, just because like we're so exposed. So as soon as that wind goes offshore, like that swells, like see ya, it's going over to Europe. So yeah, swells move very, very fast here. If I was to like give advice on like somebody wanting to come here and get waves, like come for a good chunk of time and you'll probably get really fun waves. But if you're like trying to just be like, oh, I have like 4 days, like yeah, you should probably go somewhere else.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this year, this is not the season for surfing in Nova Scotia, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With all this COVID stuff, I take it you didn't go to too many lobster boils this year.
No, I've stayed pretty close to home. I mean, summer was like pretty normal-ish, other than like people weren't allowed here. Like our restrictions were lifted pretty good.
Yeah.
Like we were allowed to hang out and stuff. It's just, yeah, lately, I guess, called the second wave or whatever. Has kind of like, and it hasn't even happened yet. It'll probably happen like tomorrow or something. But yeah, so, and then, yeah, you're not allowed in here unless you want to quarantine for 14 days and the cops come check in on you. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. There's been a few mishaps where, people got their information crossed and yeah. But other than that, it's been pretty great. Yeah.
This is a year like no other, man. This is a totally new experience for all of us. That's for sure.
We're gonna come out of this like all shell shocked. Like, this generation, like nothing's gonna surprise us. Like, okay. Like just no shock factor anymore.
Yeah. Like remember when we used to be allowed to hang out with people? Like whatever happened to that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's insane. It's so like you brought up the horrible mass shooting that we had, and like honestly, like it's been such a crazy year. I forgot about it.
Wow. Yeah.
Like it's one thing after another, and it's not just in my little zone. It's like globally.
Oh, like, for sure. Yeah.
What we're seeing go down right now is like historic, like never before seen stuff.
So hey, on a more positive note, then what does the future look like for you? Where do you plan to take your surfing career, or where can we see you when COVID blows over?
That is a daily question I ask myself.
Yeah.
I don't like it's. I don't know. I don't know. It's honestly like every day it changes. Not in a sense that like it's just I don't know what a month from now looks like. Nobody does. There's still so much unknown on that side, and like the industry is ever changing, the media is ever changing. So I don't know, like the best thing I could say is like I'll just adapt, and do what I try and do best, and just do what adventures make me feel like I'm having fun with it. And if I'm like, I'll do it until I'm not having fun with it anymore, and the day I'm not having fun with it, well, probably won't do it anymore.
Right on.
Hopefully that day won't come. Hopefully I'm like 95 years old and like riding a longboard and like can barely get up, and that would be awesome. But like maybe it's like 5 days down the track and I'm like, oh, okay, like this is it. And I think it like changes. And that's like, especially for pro surfers, like I find some don't know when. Like I've seen a couple like get really bummed on surfing and they just keep doing it, and you're like, whoa, like why? We didn't start that way. Like, yes, it's a job, and yes, that adds some like real life stressors to it. But at the same sense, it's like it's still just surfing. Like you don't have to take it so serious. We're full grown men riding little foam boats to shore. Like it's not a serious thing. In skin tight suits. It's pretty really comical when you break it down. We're just like bobbing out in the ocean for like hours on a time to like stand up on a board for a couple seconds. So it's great, and it's given me a wonderful life, and it does give me immense amount of joy. But yeah, I don't know what tomorrow holds. I'm gonna keep going until my body doesn't want to go anymore, or until I don't want to do it anymore.
So with surfing now being in the Olympics, is that somewhere we might see you someday, or?
Probably not. At one point, like, I don't know, I kind of got like sucked into it. Like, oh yeah, Canada's going, like, we're doing Olympics and all that fun stuff. And like, I've been on Team Canada. I've gone to nationals. I do all that. And like, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy it and I will always do it but it's not because I want to go to the Olympics. It's because I want to go hang out with my friends and surf in Tofino. And it's more about the camaraderie than the actual competition.
Nice.
It's fun and I really enjoy it, and I'm thankful for every opportunity again. But like, is it what brings, like, would being world champ of surfing like make me that much more, like, would that fulfill me? No, like, that's not what I want to be. That's not why I started surfing. Like, going and finding epic waves with my friends and doing projects that I'm really passionate about. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Right on.
Like, I could care less about the trophies on the mantle, you know?
Nice.
They sit in my crawl space. So
Yeah. It's all
like,
about running with the Sasquatch, I guess.
yeah. Watching my sodium go sky high as I eat.
Yeah, doing fun stuff. So,
Yeah.
hey man, when you're not surfing, then like, what other kind of things keep you stoked? It sounds like you
Oh man,
mentioned
I'm
fishing.
diehard fly fisherman. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's so, that's like my secondary thing for sure right now. But I do a lot of stuff, like I skateboard, I snowboard, ride dirt bikes, go mountain biking, rock climb. Yeah, like a little bit of everything. And like for so long I didn't do that. Like I grew up doing all that stuff, and then surfing became a real part of my life. And you have to have that one track mind to a certain extent, and that's like your one and only truly focus. And then but as I've gotten older, I've like learned to like take the foot off the gas, and like you don't have to. It's nice. It's actually helped me doing other things than like come back to surfing. Like it makes surfing like that much more amazing.
Yeah.
It's not like
enjoying the ride.
Yeah, exactly. You enjoy it more. If you do other things, and then like you can take other things that you're doing and bring it into your surfing.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's, fishing for me is like a very calming thing, where like surfing is not so much. So it's like, it's nice to be able to have that reset for my mind where it's not like on the whole time, and then like mountain biking is like great conditioning, like, cause surfing's a very asymmetrical sport. So your body actually gets all jacked up, like asymmetrically speaking, and like you can have some, issues over that. It's like definitely something that's come up and something that I've had to address. So doing other activities that are more, on work different parts of the muscles and different parts of the body really help.
Yeah. What about all these offshoots of surfing, like SUP and foiling and kiting and
I hopped on my first SUP this summer, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I like SUPs for fishing. They're epic, but I actually rode a SUP in the surf, and I think it was like a knee-high wave, and it felt like it was a 20-foot wave, and I was terrified.
Really?
Yeah, no, I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to die. Like,
wow.
So big, and I just couldn't control it. And yeah, but it was fun. Like I had a blast. Foiling seems terrifying as well. Like that thing, I want to try it, but every time I'm like ready to try it, I'll be like on Instagram and like see like somebody get like absolutely scalped by one. And I'm just like, okay, maybe gonna put that off for a bit.
Yeah, a little off the top. You need to enjoy that hair, man, while you got it.
Yeah.
Right on, dude. So hey, during this COVID time, I also like to ask people before I let them go, while we're all hunkered down a little bit more, have you been watching anything, reading anything that you recommend?
I watch a bunch of stuff all the time. I'm a sucker for like random articles on the internet. Oh man.
Okay.
I get so sucked in, and then all of a sudden I'm like today I was randomly reading about like a crazy like genetic disease that like only like 18 people have, and I was like, I like that kind of stuff. Like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna dig into that. And then before I know it, I've been like on there for like 2 hours, and I'm just like down a rabbit hole of.
Before you know it, you're one of the world's leading experts in the most rarest disease.
Random stuff. What was it today? Oh yeah, today was like where we like came from in like Ethiopia like 6 million years ago, with like the first upright Homo sapien-esque type of skeleton.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that stuff. And then I don't know. I find for watching stuff, I really like music documentaries. Find any like artist, like even like a painting artist or any sort of like multimedia person, like I find them really interesting in how their mind works and just how they look at things. Anybody with a different outlook than me, I can like really, and I even if it's something I don't even completely agree with, I try to like find something that or like at least ask myself, okay, why do they think like that? You know, like even if it's somebody who doesn't have the same views as you, if you can ask yourself like, why do they think like that? And like at least get to that bit, like maybe it'll help you understand them a touch more. Because I find with so much division, especially now, like people are just like, no, this is what I believe and it is proper. And then the other person's like, no, this is what I believe and this is law. And it's like, that's not how you get anywhere. You know,
Yeah.
you have to be open to the other person as much as they need to be open to you in order to get somewhere in the middle that is like a happy ground. You know, like
I
when
agree.
people both have their defenses up and you know are so set in their ways, and like I can definitely be guilty of that as well. I think everybody can, but if
Yeah.
you're open to at least understanding the other person, you don't have to agree with them, but at
Yeah.
least understanding where they come from, then like I think that's how you get somewhere. My wife's a vegetarian.
Okay.
Yeah, and I am not, obviously, because I ride for a beef jerky company.
Yeah. Same.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like I like the idea of vegetarianism, and I like the idea of a balanced diet. And then the other day, again, rabbit hole was on this like whole thing about like this dude he's on the carnivore diet. So I was like, all right,
Yeah.
what's all this about? And then by the end of it, I was like, okay, I see it. Like I don't want to do that, but I understand why somebody would.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I like other people that are out there because then you get to learn something that you might like. If everybody is the same, it would suck. I'm not per se a hunter, but if I want like the dilemma I keep coming back to, I was like, hell, you know, like I eat meat. I don't eat a lot of meat, like I definitely don't now. But I would, you know, if I was gonna like do it properly and do it ethically and like best for the environment in the ways that I would like perceived to be the best. And I mean, this is just my opinion. It's
Yeah.
not. But I would hunt my own meat.
Yeah. And that's the word, ethically. I think,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
I think like like if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna eat meat, like I think that's probably the best way to do it.
yeah.
Like, because for me, like it's not the whole animal thing. Like I'm the biggest animal lover, so don't take that the wrong way. But environmentally, it's more of a thing for me than like the amount of forest it takes for just like one beef patty is like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of resources that takes, the amount of pollution it does, like that's not okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's again, it's like there's so many of us on this planet now, and resources are so limited. So like I'd say that's our biggest threat facing
That's the
us.
thing that gets me though. Like people like Donald Trump who deny climate change and these things. Like we've never been at this point before. We've never had this large a population
No,
consuming at this rate, and we're just pretending like everything's fine. And a
that's
thousand years from now, we'll just be like futuristic versions of ourselves now. But I don't think
yeah.
we'll
I
make
think
it that long if we keep it up.
I think the problem is too is like when he was like in his learning phase of life, which I'm assuming was a long time ago, judging by some of his morals and what goes on. Like, yeah, the world was fine. Everybody could have a Hummer and drive around and shoot cows and whatever and be cowboys. But
Yeah.
like, there's 7 point something billion of us now. Like, things are
Yeah.
different. Like, everything we do as a society and as a species has immense consequences. And it's just not something that's like, it's out of sight, out of mind. Like, whatever, it doesn't affect me kind of thing, but like that's what's going to be our demise.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot to digest, and yeah, I don't know the answer.
So, as a surfer in Nova Scotia, do you see any of that? Because you hear about other guys around the world watching the reef turn white
Oh,
and
I,
erode away, and
I
the pollution they're paddling through.
absolutely, like I just turned 31 and I have seen so much change in my short time on this earth. And like you can chalk it up to whatever, like, but no, it's a thing. Like, and if you deny that, like, sorry, but like you're wrong.
Hmm.
Because I mean, to think about that, like the world is however, like, arguably however long, depending on your whatever.
Yep.
So 30 years, that's a blink, that's nothing.
Yeah.
If I've seen change and like, and then like the first 5 years, you don't really know what's going on. By the time you're actually paying attention, you're probably 12.
Yeah.
So like you even narrow that down even more, like, okay, that's so exponential at that point.
Yeah.
Like what curve are you on at that point where you can notice something in like a span of 2 decades?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, even like, no, it's November 23rd. It's one of the warmest Novembers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Summers are the driest I've ever seen them. Like there's things happening that I've never seen. I talked to guys on the river. It's like, oh, it's the lowest I've seen in 35 years. You know,
Wow.
like that is like common trait, and like that is what you hear every year. You hear that. Oh, lowest, most I've seen it. You know, it's like those are what are described. Like that's just commonplace now.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to pull it together, man. We got to make some changes. I like JT's approach here. We're going to ban single-use plastics. I think that's a pretty cool step.
Yeah, super cool. Like I mean, living on the ocean, I see a lot of it, but like, man, that's such a tip of the iceberg.
But what I like about it though is, yeah, it's not going to make all the change in the world, but it's taking something and creating a new normal. And it's so hard to do that. But, in 5 years from now, it's going to be normal to, just like it's pretty normal now to wear a mask. Like you just remember to grab it from the glove box and put it on in the store. It's going to be normal to remember, oh yeah, I got to bring in my reusable bag.
I mean, I hope the mask thing goes away.
I sure as hell do. And there are, a lot of those are single use as well. So I'm not sure what their policy is on that.
Yeah, I got reusable ones, but yeah, that's like, it's just like somebody told me something one time. It's like we create a solution, and then generally the solution ends up being the problem, and that's the biggest dilemma of the human race.
Oh, interesting.
Every solution that we create ends up becoming our problem sooner or later.
Yeah,
so like plastic was a solution to using metal, and then created another problem. Or like, I heard plastic bags were a solution to paper bags because of cutting down trees. Well, now, so every solution that we create generally ends up being the problem.
Yeah.
More or less. I mean, we'll see what happens with the internet. That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of problems, and there's no way we're going to solve them all right now.
No.
But I'm glad that we're at least thinking about it. I believe, I could be wrong, I think it's the Iroquois Nation has the rule of 7 generations. So you don't make a single action until you've thought about how it's going to impact 7 generations from now.
Yeah, that's a great way of doing things.
Yeah.
Because everybody's so in the now. And I think, again, it comes down to our technologies and the way that society's kind of like placed everything. It's like everybody's so singular in their attempts, it's like you have to do this, or I have to do this, I have to become this. And it's like, it's not, it's essentially we haven't geared ourselves for like the greater good of our, of our even our species,
Yeah.
So I think that's the question that needs to be answered first, and then once that comes to fruition, then maybe we can move forward and make some change.
Yeah, you're right. It's all about me. But if you started thinking, man, what I'm doing right now is going to prevent my great grandchild from even ever being born, that might start turning some heads and changing some ways.
For sure, but I also think too, like it's the way we're geared right now. Like the average attention span has dropped to like, I think it's like 3 seconds. So it's like people are so consumed with like their Instagrams and their TikToks and their Snapchats and their what have you, is that like they're probably not even answering those questions or asking those questions. So it's like, man, it's so hard to get even to this conversation that we're having right now. Like if you can get somebody to this conversation, then like, yeah, you might have an ear that'll listen to you. But if you can even get their heads up from the screens, it's like, oof, okay, now we're getting there.
Shit, dude, we made it past an hour, man.
Yeah.
Wow, we're doing something right.
If either of us were to take 3 years off of technology and we tried to come back to it, it'd be like, whoa, like, so I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder what would happen if you didn't look at your phone for 3 years.
Like when everything's at your fingertips, it's like, oh, like this is a solution to the problem that we had, but now it's the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I mean, it's with everything. It's not just with technology. Like,
Yeah.
look, a lot of our drug problems stem from a solution, and then they became the problem. So
Yeah.
it's that's kind of how we're geared as humans in our race. We're that's our biggest tool is our brain, and we create these solutions for problems that we perceived we have, and then all of a sudden, oops.
Yeah. Well, look at this COVID stuff. I mean, it took no time at all for that to spread across the world.
Again, because we're too selfish as individuals and can't figure it out for the greater good.
Yeah, but I
Like,
mean, imagine back in the day before airline travel. Like,
oh
how
yeah,
long would that have taken to come over on a boat? Or,
it probably wouldn't have made it.
yeah, or certain
It would
countries
have
weren't even
it would
on
have
the
fizzed
map yet.
out. Like, so I think, like, and especially if you were looking at the like if you're even going that deep and going back to the populations that would have been of that time before air travel, like that, in wherever in China, I think it's like the southwest of China is Wuhan, I think.
Okay, yeah,
So yeah, like, that would have been an isolated farming community, and it probably would have had this like crazy sickness, and then it would have, fizzled out. Like they would have had herd immunity in their little area. Maybe it spread a little bit, but then it would have been over. And, then that's the problem now is like travel has never been more accessible than it was pre-COVID. So, everybody traveled at that
yeah,
point. So if you have, I mean, we're lucky. Like COVID, in a sense, is like it could have been so much worse. If it was like the Black Plague, who like kills like 70% of people, like
yeah,
like think it could have been so much worse. Like this is like I think a great wake up call for maybe
yeah.
like us as a species to be a little bit more responsible.
Well, the word species, I'm glad you used because that's what I was thinking. Like now more than ever, we have to band together, not as countries, but as the human race. Like we
Yeah,
have to realize we're in this together. What
yeah.
happens to you affects me, not just, oh, I'm Canadian and you're American, that's
Mm.
separate. No, it's worldwide.
And I think maybe like I mean, I hope again, who knows, but with COVID, like, if you can't see that correlation, like, you're a pretty closed off person because it is a species problem. And, look at like, certain countries that don't have their numbers under control are massively affecting other places.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it got out of control when I think China was at like 60,000, and the US is now reporting like 200,000 a day.
Wow.
So again, we're still super lucky that it's not like 80% mortality rate, but
Yeah.
and I hope we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like they got a couple of vaccines on the go, but then that's a whole other discussion. And
Oh, yeah. Crazy stuff, man. Well, hey, dude, I did not know the conversation was going to go this way, but I'm glad it did. Thanks for brainstorming with me some of the world's problems and some, what we're going to do about it, or
yeah,
just,
two surfers are gonna solve the whole world's problems. So
yeah, really, yeah, from the East Coast and the
yeah,
Great Lakes. Here we go.
yeah.
So, man, do you got a surf session lined up for the morning, or?
I do actually. Yeah, I'm gonna hopefully go out at first light, and then I have some family errands to do with the little fella. So yeah, it's gonna be a great day. Those are the best days when I get to do my thing for a couple hours in the morning, and then I get to go hang out with the little guy all day. So
Right on, man. Love it. Yeah.
yeah,
And we've had some good northwest winds here lately, so I might get some surf as well this week.
yeah, I saw that cooking across the Great Lakes. I
Yeah.
just saw that tonight. Yeah, it looks like you guys might get a little bump in the morning.
Yeah. So hey, there's always a positive.
I don't know, like yeah, surfing. So it's changed for me in the last like over COVID. Like
Yeah.
I used to get like not bummed because surfing's awesome and like a bad day, so like but like you get accustomed to like good waves, and then but like the other day it was like terrible out there, and I was just happy to be out there and just like
Yeah.
sitting around and just taking it all in. Like whoa, like, we're so lucky. It could be so much worse.
Yeah, I think when you're thinking, is it all going to collapse? The water is a real place of peace for all of us. I think
It's yeah, sometimes it definitely is, and sometimes it's like, I don't know, it's a release of some sort,
yeah,
whether it's like your endorphins releasing, or you're getting, you have that good wave and you get that dopamine to your head, it's like
yeah,
there's so many, and that's, I think, the essence of surfing is it is what it is to so many different people.
hmm
And that's what makes it so awesome. And that's why I don't really agree with putting it in a box and like trying to put it in a nice little package and be like, this is what surfing is. It's like, no, it's part of it. Sure, it
yeah,
might be that to some people, but it's definitely not that to everybody.
yeah. Don't put baby in a corner.
Yeah.
Surfing is a lot of things to a lot of people. Yeah, and I guess I'm sort of in la la land. Oh, surfing is good. I know it can be a stressor too. It can really piss
For
people
sure.
off if you're not performing or getting the waves you want. I've been there.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely that. But I'm more or less speaking to like, it's different. People do it for all different reasons. Not everybody does it for the same reason you do it. And like, I mean, especially as it gets more crowded, like people have to respect that, like
Mm,
what the guy sitting down the line from you is out there doing it for is totally different than what I'm out there doing it for, and vice versa. So like, that respect goes both ways.
yeah,
I think like people need to be reminded of that sometimes, because like, like even when like a guy is out there or a girl and like they don't know what, like, like maybe they're new to the sport, like I hate when people yell at people that are new to the sport. It's like,
mm,
whoa, 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 whoa. Like you were there at one point, like calm down.
yeah,
They didn't mean anything by it, like,
yeah.
don't go all snapping on them, because you were at that point once too, and it's like what it is to them is not what it is to you, so just calm down.
Yeah, and it's a chance for education too.
Yeah. Like there's a conversation to be had, but when people start yelling, like nobody likes being yelled at, so you're never going to get an open recipient to that. So
Yeah. Well, back to your point earlier, like not understanding sort of black and white thinking. I mean, this is why localism, I just think, is a joke.
I definitely get the like secretive part, because there's definitely like special places that like, a lot of work went into.
Yeah,
But then again, like let's say I went to one of my spots that like I put a lot of work into knowing it and like getting there. If some person rocked up to that and was like, as long as it wasn't like gifted to them like in a really weird way, like that's awesome. Like they did what I did, and now they should be able to experience it as well.
yeah,
Like that's cool. Like we've had scenarios where like one time we like were surfing this wave that we've known for a while, and like this guy rocks up in an RV and our minds were just like poof, like blown, and we're like, how did he find this? And he like rocked up and he was so nice, and he's like, oh, like he had this photo cut out from a newspaper like 5 years ago. He's like, I just went around and asked the fisherman about it until I found it, and we were all just like, that is so cool. Like welcome.
wow,
Like
yeah,
that's cool. But yeah, the whole localism thing is hilarious.
yeah,
Like it's usually people that like they feel like they're sitting in a higher echelon than they actually are, and it gives them like, I'm better than you, so I'm gonna yell at
yeah,
you. So it's like it's always comes off as like big and macho, but it usually comes from being insecure and a small-minded person. So
yeah. It hasn't happened a lot, but there's been a few instances, even just in this short, few months that I've returned to Ontario, where I've met people who they won't even tell me about a break that is widely well known, but they just won't even express that to me. It's like I have to figure it out on my own. It's like, well, all I have to do is look at a map and surf
yeah,
where
I
you
mean
are,
that's the thing
and
too.
I'll see you there. So I don't know what
Yeah,
you're trying to keep
yeah, Google
from me,
Earth pretty much ruined any secret spot. Like anybody with half a brain and
yeah,
iPhone can like figure it out.
yeah, exactly.
So it's like, yeah, the whole localism thing. It's funny, but again, like thinking at it from their, like, you know, maybe they're not the best surfer, maybe they are, like, maybe, like, I don't know. It's a weird one. Like, the reasons that they have for doing it are, like, would always be an interesting conversation. Like, if you could ever get that out of an angry local, like, be like, hey man, like, why are you so angry? Be like,
Maybe
oh,
that's a guest I
only
need to
go
have
surf
on.
every now and again, and my wife yells at me, and yada, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's like, who knows? Like,
Maybe that's a potential show guest I need to have on. Angry local.
yeah, just, you know, have a have a call number. Be like, it's, yeah. Let's have a. I just need one anonymous angry local.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, start the conversation.
Nice. So, dude, before I let you go, is there anything that you want to plug or tell people to check out? Anything
Mm,
you're working on?
I don't really like the Red Bull thing. That's kind of the only thing we've done, like, in a
Yeah,
little
I'll
bit.
provide a link for that in the show
Yeah,
notes.
it's so hard right now with COVID. Like, we have all these plans, but we're like just kind of like sitting there twiddling our thumbs. Like, it's like a daily conversation me and Scotty have. It's like, okay, what are we gonna do today? Like, you have any ideas? And we're like, oh, we could do this. Like, yeah, we could. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Why do you guys sound like Pinky in the Brain?
Yeah, it's pretty much our, like, it's like 9 o'clock sharp. Like, on a day with no surf is like the phone call. Like, okay, what are we gonna do today? Like, what projects do we have on the go? You know, it's like full board meeting time. Like, okay, like, let's do something fun. What are you doing? Like, oh, like, yeah. So it's fun. But yeah, it's everything's in limbo right now. So who knows? I want to do something cool. I want to do something creative. We have a couple ideas in the line, so maybe people will see that soon. I don't know. It just depends. It really depends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We will keep our eyes and ears open, man. I could throw out a few suggestions, filming a sequel to the original Point Break.
Point Break. I'm actually I forgot. I'm actually related to Patrick Swayze.
Are you seriously?
Yeah.
You are the relative of the Bodhizafa,
Yeah.
the Holy One? How, man?
Pretty funny.
Let's hear the story. I can't go without hearing the story.
I totally forgot about it until you brought. I was like, wait, oh yeah. I guess he's like a third cousin who like changed his last name and like moved to Hollywood with his mom, and it's like this whole story that like my great aunt dug out, and it's like a thing. It's super funny.
So is his name Patrick Landry?
No. It's on my mom's side of the family. I actually don't know. I'd have to ask my mom the whole story. I'm just like, I'm just claiming it hard that
Is Patrick Swayze Acadian?
No, it's on the other side of the family. I don't even know. It's like it's deep, and it's like I don't know exactly how the whole story goes. I just
shit, man. You can't bring this up and not deliver.
I know. I need to dig into it more. I just thought I was just like, oh, that's cool, and then like kind of left it at that. Never really like dug into it too much.
Okay, follow up. Down the line, maybe fill me in a little more. You can't just drop bombs like that. Like, oh yeah, Keanu Reeves is my stepbrother.
Yeah. So I gotta figure out that whole story. But yeah, it goes something like that. Like, he's a third cousin who like changed his last name or took his mom's last name. It's like a whole thing. But it's like it's something that comes up ever so often at family reunions. So it's pretty funny.
Right on.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to see like a sequel, because at the end it's not clear that Patrick Swayze dies in that wave. Like, he could have survived that, and I want to see this life.
Like Point Break?
Pardon?
You not see the remake?
Yeah, that's a pile of dog shit. That's not.
I didn't see it. I had a couple friends that did stunt work in it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, the stunts are cool, but the story, I mean, you and I were talking about story earlier. Yeah. Point Break, for me, I will argue that that's the best movie ever made. I love it because it's got everything in it. It's got surfing, but it's got romance, it's got action, it's got comedy.
It has Anthony Kiedis, lead singer of the Red Hot Chili.
Yeah. Chili Peppers guy, right on. Yeah, he's part of that gang. That's the localism guys. You're like,
I can't remember my buddy's like Point Break diehard. He'd be like sitting behind me, like every line.
So the Red Bull project, otherwise you're working on project Twiddle Your Thumbs Up Your Ass, you said. So, yeah, so where can people, if people want to connect with you, man, where can people reach out to you at?
Generally speaking, I'm like a pretty private person. Yeah, I've done commercials and stuff like that, but I've always kind of like, that one's always been a little hard for me as well, like personally. Like, I'm like, oh, this is almost like too much for me. Like, you know, I'm honored that like people like the surfing and like the projects, and that's all well and good. But, you know, like, I think especially nowadays, like, and I could only imagine with people who are like famous, like, my goodness, like, you know, like I've hung around a couple high profile surfers, and like people act like they get every act, like people almost assume that they get every aspect of this person, you know. It's like, you know, you're an entertainer, like, I mean, essentially at the root of it, like, I'm an entertainer and a marketing tool for a brand, for an individual brand. Like, that's not Logan as the person, you know, that is Logan as a commodity in a sense. So it's like, that's okay. I've come to learn to live with that, and that is what it is. And then usually it's just my friends that get these conversations.
Nice.
So yeah, I think too, like, I think people need to be not more like that, but like people give too much. Like, you know, especially with Instagram and how accessible, like people tell you about everything they do during the day. Like, nobody cares. Like, come on. Like, you know, like, we don't need every aspect of you. Like, there's a reason like why people, like, it's too much now. You're too accessible. Like, I mean, even like when cell phones, like, that's why I was like, when the episode first started, we brought it up, and I was like, oh yeah, I have my iPhone set to, as soon as 7:30 comes around, like all calls, emails, everything they don't turn on till 7:30 tomorrow morning. Yeah. And it's like, this is something I've learned. I've not always been like this. Like, you know, like, so it's as I get older, it's something that, you know, like it's my time. It's like, you know, my time to like spend with my family, my time to think about things. So, you know, being accessible all the time, like, definitely takes away from that.
Yeah. So, well, man, I'm glad you came on the podcast. I'm also honored that really you. Nice conversation. Yeah, I'm honored that you felt compelled to do it after all. You know, and I get the privacy thing. I think at the same time, though, like, I'll counter that with, you know, rather than looking at people as celebrities, what I like about podcasts is it shows that, hey, like, Pro Surfer Dude is actually just a really cool, normal guy. And I think we like to take a peek into what would that life look like. And it looks just like ours, except your day job is, you know, doing errors and stuff. And
it's a little different, but like, yeah, it's like, again, like, I surf, that's what I do, but it's not who I am. So it's like, you know, I think that's important to separate for everybody. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, you are what you do in a sense, but it's not who you are. So, you know, like, my views and my way of thinking are like not really attached to like a stereotypical surfer. I don't think so. So, you know, and I feel like one of the one things that surfers get pegged in is like the stereotypical like surfer dude, you know, and it's like, man, most surfers I know are not that person. So
I don't think I've had a single surfer dude on the show, and I'm 20 episodes in. I'll tell you, actually, and I mean this in the kindest way, I feel like most of the surfers I'm talking to are kind of like weather nerds or something. Like,
oh, absolutely,
you know, very like scientific people. And
well, it takes a lot. Like, even before you catch a wave, the knowledge you have to accumulate to like get in the spot is insane. Like, you have to read the wave, you have to read like what it's going to do, you have to know what that wave's going to bend at as it hits the bottom of like whatever shelf or beach you're surfing. Like, there's a lot of information all happening at a very short amount of time, you know. And then on top of that, like, every surfer that is like has been doing it for more than a couple of years knows how to read swell charts. You know, and it's like, it's something you nerd out on. It's like, cool. Like, I've spent all this time. Could have got probably a couple PhDs, but I know how to read swell forecasts pretty well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting because like man, when I was going to get a mortgage for a house and they asked what I did, they're just like, what? So you like surf? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, but like, what? Like, they totally treated me like that. It's like that surfer dude. And I was like, whoa. Like, take it easy.
Yeah.
That person. It's what I do. It's not who I am, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But,
well, I'll show the T4s and hopefully.
Oh man, then they'll be like definitely asking me. They're like, oh man, like come on, dude.
Okay, bad idea. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, man, I'm stoked you came. I think so. My vision for this podcast really is, without something like SBC Surf, I feel like there's a gap. And
for sure.
I know for me as a surfer and even more so than a surfer, as a member of our Canadian surfing community,
mm-hmm.
I just like to connect. I want to know what is it like surfing in Nova Scotia. I talked to yesterday, who did I talk to? Edison Castillo from the Alberta river surfing scene. And so just getting all these
surfs out there on those rivers.
Yeah, so the different perspectives is fascinating. I'll also say, Noah Cohen was probably one of my favorite interviews as well, because just such a generous, smart guy with a fascinating story too.
Yeah, Noah's awesome. We've had some really long drives together, and it's always good conversation. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what I'd enjoy more, surfing with you guys or just hanging out, shooting the shit.
You gotta get stuffed in a car with us for like 12 hours while we drive through a snowstorm in Iceland, and then you get both.
Right on. All right, man, I'm down. Post COVID anyway.
Yeah.
If I survive through it, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know how much.
Strong immunity.
It's crazy.
If you want to check out some cool surfing photos, follow Logan on Instagram at Logan Landry.
People have all these other channels, but I don't know. It's just easy. Like Instagram's so easy and it's all there. And I don't know. It works the best for now.
It's good. I like it.
Until the cool kids come up with something else, I'm gonna have to learn it. I can't get into TikTok. I can't do it.
No?
I need little Reed to teach me how to do it. He seems pretty into it, but
yeah. I can't get into it either, but my wife is into it a lot. I will say though, she's found this one comedian on there. His name is PDUSA. This guy is hilarious. I do watch his. I don't have the app, but she'll show me his videos, and it's just ridiculous, like dark, hilarious comedy.
That's good. Comedians are interesting. I always I find them very. They're a good study.
Yeah.
You have to be I think you have to be insanely intelligent to be a comedian.
Yeah. I took a course in comedy and it was awesome, man. But it's hard work. We wrote jokes,
everything, current affairs, everything.
Yeah, there's an art to it too. There's definitely strategies for sure. I'll tell you this though, when I did this course, at the end of it all, we performed at Yuck Yucks, and the feeling of performing stand-up comedy for me, it actually was similar to surfing. Like I felt so freaking alive, man. It was the hugest adrenaline. You plan the set for 4 minutes, but everything time slows down.
Yeah.
It goes in double time. And my skit was 8 minutes long.
Wow.
And when you deliver a joke, the thing is, when you're practicing, you don't necessarily keep in mind the fact that the audience is going to react.
Yeah.
So when the audience laughs, you absorb that energy. And man, was it ever powerful. It was like a drug.
That's cool. Well, I watched that Mark Matthews documentary, and he was talking about the similarities between public speaking and big wave surfing. So
really?
That totally makes sense.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I think it's on Red Bull TV. Yeah, it's a great little documentary. It's about his injuries and his like steps back, and then like what he's doing now. Is great. Great documentary.
Public speaking might be the closest thing I get to riding a big wave, so I might need to I might need to do some of that and stick to the shore break.
Yeah.
All right, Logan, dude, man, it has been awesome talking to you, bro. Thanks for joining me on the Permastoked podcast. And I don't have to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway, man. Stay stoked.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.